Ms Bullock. I refer to your media release 2021, number 21, dated 5th of October, which announces the Reserve Bank will continue to purchase government securities at the rate of $4 billion a week until at least mid-February 2022. Is this being funded by creating money through electronic ledger entries?
So when we buy a bond, then the value of the balances that the banking system holds with us goes up by a commensurate amount.
Okay, so yes. By February 2022, what is the aggregate value of the securities purchased by the Reserve Bank and funded by an electronic ledger entry?
Hang on, I'll just see if I've got that. I can either provide that to you shortly, but I think I might have that to hand, Senator. Can I come back to you with that in a second? I do have that information, but not right at my fingertips.
Okay, thank you. Is it fair to say that increasing inflation may signal that electronic ledger entries as a means of financing government deficits is becoming problematic?
So inflation is increasing, has increased, although actually yesterday inflation actually stepped down a little from where it had been previously, but the monetary policies settings we have in place, as do other central banks around the world, are, we were looking to generate a little higher inflation than we have had over the last 5-6 years, so that as well as generate more jobs for Australians. So those are the objectives of the setting of monetary policy, Senator. So some inflation, a little bit more inflation is welcome, a lot more inflation is not welcome. Okay, so what's the latest figure for inflation, and where does the Reserve Bank expect inflation to go over the next 12 months? Senator, can I take in mind, we have got a policy board meeting on Tuesday. We are publishing revised forecasts on Tuesday. I'd rather not update them in the middle of a Senate estimates hearing. We haven't actually landed on that the forecast aspect yesterday. I can tell you what the number was yesterday, which was consumer price inflation over the year to the September quarter was 3%. 3.0%.
Thank you. We'll look for those figures then. I understand why you can't do it today. The draft Digital Identity Bill 2021 includes a provision that every payment must be made by electronic currency and tied to the person's digital identity, so that every transaction can be tracked and traced. This bill once again tries to outlaw all cash transactions. So we had this debate last year when One Nation led the defeat of the cash ban bill. Does the RBA support the government's attempts to once again ban cash transactions?
I mean, we print cash as well as electronic, as you mentioned earlier, Senator. So we are, we continue to and will intend to, print notes for the people of Australia to use for the foreseeable future. So we are still very much in the note printing business.
Okay, so you don't support the government's attempt to ban cash. Then let's move on to the new payment platform. And I appreciate your answers. It'd be so much easier in Senate Estimates Chair if everyone gave answers so quickly, directly. The new payment platform's first transaction was 3.5 years ago, around about that. Can I ask firstly, what is the uptake of the new payment platform, expressed using any criteria or KPI that the Reserve Bank considers appropriate?
Well, I'm going to hand to Michelle on that one, if you don't mind, Senator.
Sure, thank you.
Thanks, Senator. I would say we don't have any specific KPIs, but I think on measures of how quickly fast payment services around the world have picked up, we've certainly picked up as quickly as any. There's now around about $92 billion a month passes through the new payments platform in terms of payments. And I think as a measure of success, I would note that COVID disaster payments during this recent period, 17 million of them to the value of around about $11.5 billion to people into their accounts on the weekends, no delays. I think all those KPIs suggest to me that it's doing very well.
But Senator, further to your question, we can also provide you the sort of share of transactions which go through the various payments mechanism, including the MPP, and show how that's changed over recent times. To your question.
Thank you. Yes, that would be helpful. I was about to infer from Ms Bullock's answer that very thing, so that'd be great. Is there?
come back to your earlier question. The answer to your previous question is by February 22, we will have bought 360 billion of government bonds.
Thank you very much. As a follow-up, Ms Bullock, is there a review plan to see how the NPP or the new payment platform is working? If the architecture is right, has the security on all the data held up, etc.?
No review by the bank on that, Senator. We review things. We will be reviewing in the near future things like access to the NPP to make sure that is meeting the requirements. In terms of the auditability and the operations, that's a matter for NPP and its shareholders to address.
Who are the shareholders in NPP?
The major banks and a number of smaller institutions, some aggregators as well. There's around about 13 of them, I believe.
Excuse me, Senator Roberts, I'm just managing the call.
Yeah.
How much further do you...
It won't take much longer. They're
Okay.
fairly short answers, yeah.
Thank you.
Is the platform generating operational revenue or even a profit? And if so, where is that money going? Is the Reserve Bank still a shareholder?
The Reserve Bank, I might take the second question first, if I may. Yep. Since the approval from the ACCC for the NPP and BPay and FPOS to amalgamate to Australian Payments Plus, the Reserve Bank announced its intention to step back as a shareholder and its position on the board. I don't know if that's actually gone through yet, but that's the intention if it hasn't. In terms of its revenue, and I'd have to come back to you on that, but that would be in its annual reports, and I can take that on notice and get back to you.
Thank you, Ms Bullock. I note from your press release 2021 number 18 of the 2nd of September 2021, it announces that the Reserve Bank has signed onto Project Dunbar, an international agreement to provide a common platform to allow foreign transactions to be paid in digital currency. Is that correct?
It's not an agreement to create a platform. It's basically, we've signed on with the Bank for International Settlements Innovation Hub and 3 other central banks to explore what sort of design considerations you would need for a multi-currency CBDC settlement service.
Thank you. And it'd be paid in digital currency. Whose digital currency?
What it is exploring is the design elements for individual central banks to issue their own central bank digital currencies, and those currencies would be used.
Thank you. The Reserve Bank of Australia corporate plan on page 8 includes a section entitled, I quote, "Harnessing the Power of Data." And that includes this comment, data are, and I'll quote again, "Data are a strategic asset for a central bank. This involves extracting maximum information from the data available." And that's the end of the quote. Will the Reserve Bank data acquisition include harvesting data from the sources the Reserve Bank now controls? For example, the new payment platform and the upcoming central bank digital currency?
No, I mean, we don't. What we're talking about there, Senator, is looking at the data that we get from people like the Australian Bureau of Statistics, whatever, and just ensuring that we're using that as effectively as we can, which also, the ABS over recent years has provided much more disaggregated data that we're able to utilise. So it's ensuring that we have the capacity to handle those much bigger data sets effectively. So that's what we're talking about there.
So what would that look like? The data?
We have a data platform which allows us to handle these big data sets much more efficiently than a bunch of spreadsheets, which is the more traditional, the way we've been doing it for a number of years, and to do, use more, use some more up-to-date data, current data analysis tools more efficiently on that sort of platform than we can currently, given where we historically have stored data, which has primarily been in spreadsheet form.
Thank you. Last question, Chair. Ms Bullock or Dr DeBell, if every transaction will be made using the individual's digital identity, which will complete the transaction using the Reserve Bank's digital currency on the Reserve Bank's new payment platform, is this tantamount to a government takeover of all commercial and international financial transactions in Australia, or at least complete oversight, complete control?
So, Senator Roberts, the vast bulk of payments go through our platform as any non-cash payment goes across us as it has today, and has done so for years. The MPP is a more real-time form, but currently historically, all other payments still go across our books through either the RTGS system or whatever. But NPP is a newer version of that, but those transactions still go across us, always have, and will continue to go across our books.
Yeah, I'd make a distinction, Senator, between the NPP is not, that's a commercial payment system, as is a card payment system, as is the direct entry system, as is the cheque system. All of those systems have transactions with the banks. What Dr. DeBell is referring to is the fact that in order to make the transactions between the banks, all those payments have and have for decades passed across the books of the Reserve Bank. So there's a separation between the commercial payment systems that you're thinking of in terms of NPP and all those other ones, and the settlement systems which are across our books.
Okay.
Okay, Senator Roberts.
Thank you, and I want to note my appreciation of the directness of the answers and the promptness of the answers.
You're very polite, Senator Roberts, as always. Now, I'm going to